Alright, guys. How are you doing today? You guys ready to talk some magic? We're going to be taking a deep dive in alchemy today. Are y'all ready?
Nice.
We're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Before we jump into that, let's talk about the past weekend. Did you guys do anything fun, magic related?
Well, we did indeed play a Magic event. I don't know how fun it was for either of us, but we hoped that it would be fun going into it. The event started fun for me. I started 2-0. So funny enough, I thought this weekend, because Dewey told me this was the case, that I would be able to play a standard event on Saturday and an alchemy event on Sunday. And there was, in fact, an alchemy tournament on Sunday, but it was an
Mm-hmm.
invite only
Mm-hmm.
tournament, which I had not qualified for. Neither had Dewey.
Yep.
So neither of us got to play on Sunday, which is fine. I forgive Dewey, but Dewey gave me some false information
I
there.
did.
And then on Saturday we played the standard event, and we played. I ended up playing Abs. Did we both play the same 75, Dewey? We did, didn't we?
Yeah, we changed it. We played. Yeah, we did. I was thinking about things back and forth about changing it last minute, but then
Yeah.
I think
So
we
we,
both
we
were.
played
So
like this Abzan aggro kind of deck that I played. That we made a few card changes, but it was very similar to the deck that I was streaming last week on. I can't remember if it was Friday. I think it was Friday. No, it was Thursday. It was Thursday because then on Friday Arceus came out and I streamed that all day.
Okay.
So on Thursday I hit like top 100 Mythic, and the two decks I played were this Abzan midrange deck. We went 5-2 with that, and we went 6-1 with Orzhov. Both decks were really good. I wasn't sure which one was better, as usual. That's how my testing has been lately. Play two decks, and they have like exactly the same record. So I can't really tell which one I like better, and then I just kind of have to flip a coin pretty much to decide what to play. And I was a little concerned that Orzhov's deck was slightly misleading, or Orzhov's record was slightly misleading, because I played a few like really garbage decks when I was playing. So I was like, well, the 6-1 is kind of debatably actually a 6-1, and the other deck got a very reasonable 5-2. I didn't play against any nonsense, so that was a legit 5-2, and the 6-1 kind of had an asterisk next to it. So I basically considered the records almost identical. And so it kind of just came down to what I thought might be a more powerful deck. And I thought playing Asika's Chariot was the smartest thing to do, because I think that is, like, power level, the most powerful card in Standard at the moment. It's close. I mean, Liar's there, Goldspan Dragon's there. There's some very powerful cards still in Standard, but Asika's Chariot is definitely up there. So I decided to play black, white, and green for Asika's Chariot. It was basically a black, white aggro deck with Asika's Chariot in it. And the first few rounds went pretty well. I started 2-0. And then my round 3, in a very critical game 3, I kept 4 lands, Liesa, Asika's Chariot, and a removal spell against Grohl. And I was on the draw. And my first 4 draw steps were lands, and I just couldn't recover. Not having a play on turn 3 was horrendous. And I was, close to being able to get back in the game, but just couldn't quite do it. So we ended up losing to Grohl. And for those that watched me play the Abzan deck last week, that was kind of how it lost on stream too. It was just like flooding or not drawing lands is kind of just like, a typical aggro deck. You really want to hit the curve. And, I may have messed up the mana base a little bit when I edited it the morning of. I tried making the colors a little better, and I may have made the lands not as consistent. I don't know. Things just didn't go great in that round 3. And then in round 4, my first game, I mulligan a 6-lander into a 2-lander, don't draw a third land until turn 5, and just get buried by black-white, and then lose to black-white in a much closer game 2 the next game. It was actually a reasonable game of Magic, but game 1 I didn't get to play, which is always frustrating. But ultimately, I think the Abzan deck was just a little less consistent than Orzhov was. It lost more to nonsense, so I probably should have just played Orzhov. But which is kind of funny, because I literally wrote an article about why Orzhov was really good last week. So I didn't heed my own advice and got punished. So it is what it is. But at least, it's not a huge deal. We got historic coming up this weekend, so we'll play some historic. But I guess my article was focused on Alchemy anyway, and that was a standard event this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have played Orzhov and Alchemy, I think. So, but anyway, that's how the weekend went for me.
So,
I
No, go ahead, Dewey.
I was like a similar thing for me. Obviously, playing the same deck, and we. I didn't play the deck as much. Obviously, I was focused on other things, so I wasn't able to.
Nature to be
And
sometimes.
yeah, and it's one of those things where like I was comfortable enough picking up the deck, but it didn't matter on some of the things because the mana base was awkward at times, but it wasn't necessarily for me like not having the color sometimes or just not. I just like would go games where I just like flooded out,
Yep.
and then the other games where I'm just like can't draw a land. Like I keep a 3-lander. I'm like, man, this hand's great. I'm gonna be good. And it's like 6 turns later, and I'm like,
I feel
I,
less
I
good.
thought
It's
I thought I would have drawn one at some point. So
Yeah, it's really hard for me to decide if that Abzan deck is good or because it's really similar to the Bant
mhm.
deck that Raja played at the Invitational and did
Yeah.
super well with, and Harlan Fryer did really well with it too. But what was interesting about the deck is Raja would message me a lot, basically complaining about exactly what we're complaining about right now, about how the deck
Mhm.
sometimes just like flood out and lose really badly to that, or you just like get screwed in outdoor lands. So I'm trying to like figure out. And by the way, Raja top 16 the Invitational. I think Harlan may have also top 16 the Invitational with very very good standard records, both of them. I think they lost 2 matches in standard combined.
Yeah.
I may be off on that, but they were around 14-2 on the weekend with that Bant deck, which again,
Yeah.
very very similar to this Abzan deck, almost
Yeah.
like exactly the same. Like if you basically what they're doing is like identical, so
Yeah.
they're
Same
gonna
same game plan, strategy,
yeah.
all that good
So I'm
stuff.
trying to figure out if we just were on the wrong side of variance, maybe. It's possible
Mhm.
we got, and it kind of felt that way. Two, the metagame's just a lot different now because the blue decks are gone. They don't exist. So these black mid-range decks are everywhere. And is this deck actually good against all of the meat hook strategies? Not
Right.
sure. And then three, is this deck actually just bad? And Raja is very, very good and was just able to win with the deck anyway. I don't know. I'm struggling to figure that out. I think the deck is good. I think it's a mix of a lot of stuff. I think the format is different, and I think
Mhm.
we got a little punished for that. I think we were also on the wrong side of variance for sure. When you keep a 2-lander in a 26-land deck and can't hit a third land drop on the draw, that's like insanely ridiculous.
Right.
So that's rough. But you are going to have those games. That's Magic.
Mhm.
And then the third thing, saying the decks, I don't think the deck actually sucks. I think that is definitely hyperbole. It just felt like the deck sucked this weekend for Dewey and I. But
Yeah.
I think the first two are much more likely. But either way,
The
we got
interesting
another.
thing
Oh,
about the
sorry. Go ahead,
blue
Dewey.
stuff, I'll say the interesting thing about the blue decks are in like that top 16, there were still a lot of blue decks. Like you had Is It Control came in second, Is It
True.
Dragons came in third, you have Azorus Control came in fifth.
Fair.
And then in the top 16 itself, you had like Tamir Treasures, Dimir Control, Tamir
Sure.
Mid Range. So like there's still like people are like testing around with different things.
And figuring it out. And to be fair,
Yeah.
control is still probably good because you and I were playing blue black control before
Hmm.
blue red like took over the format.
Yeah.
And it was pretty solid. I played it we have a recording of me doing one of the Arena Open day twos with
Hmm.
Demir. So
Mhm.
I thought Demir was good months ago, and it's still good. It didn't lose anything. Um, and what's interesting is I actually beat Blue Red pretty badly with the Abzan deck in
Hmm.
round 2. So, maybe we're just not good against these mid-range piles, the Orzhov mid-range decks, and it was a bad weekend to play Abzan because Orzhov felt really, really popular. So so a lot of things go into it, but
Absolutely. But we'll see how things play out for the next one. I don't think we have to play too much standard yet or anything too much
yeah, dude,
before
I
the
don't know. I'm just
change.
letting you tell me when we have events.
Yeah,
And
I am
saying,
just
hey,
playing
Dewey,
things.
what am I playing this weekend? Okay, thanks. This
Yeah.
week, I'm just streaming Pokemon Legends Arceus pretty much all week, so I'm not
Hmm.
even really going to test. So,
Yeah.
not exactly the best formula for a successful event, but whatever. We'll see what happens. I want to play this game, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
play some Legends. I've been saying I'm gonna stream my whole playthrough, so we're gonna keep grinding that out.
I think that's the main reason you don't want to test Magic. Not because we should you need to be streaming it. You just really want to play the game.
Oh, I do really want to
Yeah.
play the game, and I really want to stream the game as well. I want people to see the playthrough, and I've been
Mhm.
saying that was my plan for almost a month. Like
Yeah.
I've been saying that I'm probably gonna stream this for a whole week. I'm
Mhm.
probably gonna stream my playthrough. So I'm gonna stick to that. We're gonna do it, and
Nothing wrong with
yeah. But
that.
yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. The game's really great.
But as far as the events we're doing this weekend,
Yes,
we are playing Saturday. We have the NRG series online.
yes,
They have the historic, starts at 11 a.m. Eastern on Melee, and then we also have the qualifier that is this weekend, and that's both historic. On Sunday, I am reading this appropriately from my understanding that this is the .gg's championship series, the one that we can enter, as
wonderful.
opposed to the other ones.
And what format is this?
This one's going to be Alchemy.
Okay, so we've got Historic Saturday, Alchemy Sunday. Got it. I know what I'm playing this week.
When I
Nice.
go to register, it says I can pay and register.
Oh, amazing, dude. Yeah, I couldn't find that screen this past weekend. It would not take my money, which is typically, and then it said it was free to enter, and I was like,
Yeah.
a little weird.
Well, it's because I saw all their other series. Like, they were
Yeah.
running 1Ks every week. So I was like, okay, it's another 1K. It just happens to be, for the invite. But no, this one is going to be the just one of their 1Ks for the championship series. It's interesting, though, because at the end of February, the 27th, they have their set championship qualifier, and it's also
Sure.
part of their series. And you can still just register for that one.
Okay.
So
That's pretty neat.
Mhm.
Now, with that being said, you got Alchemy and Historic. Obviously, I hope you guys do well in both. I kind of want y'all to do a little bit better in the energy one than the other.
Yeah, I mean, that one
personally.
means a lot more, let's be honest. The energy.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they both mean quite a
Well, they're
bit.
both the same tournament, right? They're both like PTQs.
Yeah,
But one
yeah.
actually has like a secondary bonus of being our
True.
local like grinding station, I guess you
Very
could
true.
call it.
Very true.
So obviously, I want y'all to do well in both. Be able to play in both. Maybe y'all can just like dodge each other. You know, I know y'all don't like doing that for some
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. We've had to play
We're
each other a
skilled.
few times. It's been
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Y'all don't have
Mhm.
to just because we're doing a podcast. Don't mean we have to do everything together. We don't have
Yeah.
to play every single game. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Just put that out there. But I don't know if y'all know this, but I got some very exciting news that was announced today.
What's that?
The first pro tour for Flesh and Blood. got
Yes. I knew you were going to say that because Kowalski posted
Oh,
about it
yeah.
on Twitter and was really, really hype.
Oh yeah, we're gonna jump in and talk about this a little bit because this is pretty
Right.
neat how they're doing things.
Nice.
So they're
Okay.
they're doing it. Obviously, people are going to take things off of Magic. That's going to be regardless. So we'll put that aside. Like Magic is the juggernaut. They're gonna have similar things. So they're gonna be running it in the Meadowlands. They're going to be doing it similar to how Magic Fest were, where they're gonna actually have like they call here. It's called the Calling, which is essentially in Magic terms Grand Prix.
Okay.
So they're gonna be running those the same weekend. But the stuff that you get for being in their Pro Tour school, one thing I found out today, if you're like qualified,
Mhm.
you could take your invite. If you get like a second invite, you could just give it to somebody.
Wait. I can just give it to anyone I want?
Yep, you can give your invites away.
That
I don't like that.
that's a
I don't like that at
strange
all.
system. That's a strange system.
Like
Yeah, like I could see it where you could give it to someone in the tournament that came in second and didn't have an invite.
I get the reason.
It's
that
weird because like you could just be really good and then you just give invites to your friends.
Well,
Yeah.
that was kind of like the team pro tour, right? Because you didn't have to be all qualified for that team pro tour. One person could invite two unqualified people.
What I'm kind of thinking here too, Dewey. What this kind of screams to me is they're just trying to grow the game, right? So they're just
That's
trying
fair.
to get a bunch of people into this and
Mhm.
suck them in, and they're not going to let people do this very long.
Right.
But that's like Larry's saying, the team PT that happened years ago, right? Like very
Mhm.
long time ago. Bogamus was talking about it, how it was one of his like first PTs, right?
No, I'm not the team
Nope.
one. The team one was the 25th anniversary one. That's
Oh, okay.
that's
He
where
was
we had the
talking about.
humans. We had that humans cheat with the meddling mage.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
You know what? I will 100% respect the idea of trying to get significantly higher participation.
Hmm.
And realistically, it's okay because, like, let's say I'm traveling to a bunch of events with friends. I can
Yeah.
go, hey, like, let's say the three of us are just constantly going to events, and Dykman spikes it, and then I spike one, and then one of us get another one. We can just hand it to Larry because he, for some reason, even
Yeah,
though he's
I
the
like.
fucking blood player, he
Yeah,
doesn't get the
wouldn't
invite.
that be some crazy stuff right there?
That'd be pretty wild. Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny. But yeah,
But okay, tell me more about this.
yeah. So I'm going through their prize support for the event. It looks like they're going to have a Pro Tour champion card. It's going to be a legal card, but only a Pro Tour champion will get one.
Oh, that's cool.
What?
Yeah, it's going to be a
Like
Pro.
alternate art?
I don't know if
Or
it's alternate art, but I know it's a card that's going to be legal. That's going to be for only the Pro Tour champion. Because then you get a lot of like gold legendaries, which are going to be worth so much money. These gold legendaries, so usually they're cold foils.
Mm.
For those that don't know what cold foils are, they have in this game they have cold foils and rainbow foils. Rainbow foils are like they have a different tone. They're more like outline foils, where cold
Mhm.
foils are going to be like your traditional foiled all the way through. Rainbow
Okay.
foils usually come in the unlimited printings, where that's the benefit of buying first edition is you get the more rare like cold fully foiled out cards. So they're
Okay.
going to be given these. You also get an additional Pro Tour invite by making the top 32 of the Pro Tour. And PTIs, how they set up PTIs is you have the choice. These qualify you. You can use them on the Pro Tour or Worlds. You get to pick any of their Pro Tour level events.
Okay. And do you get to pick which one you go to?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, let's say there's 3 Pro Tours this year and Worlds.
Yes.
Is that how that works?
Um,
I get to go. I would like to go to the fall one, even though I qualified earlier on in the year, and the next one would be like the spring one or something.
Yes, for this circumstance, yes. There is like Pro Quest that's designed specifically for seasons,
Right.
but like
Right.
PTIs like this, you can use them on any of them. So for
Okay.
some
I
reason,
love
I want
that.
to go to the Pro Tour, right? But
Mhm.
there's a COVID spike right now. I'm not feeling comfortable. You know how Magic did not let you defer the Pro Tour invites or the set
Yep.
championship invites right now. They're going to
Well,
allow you.
those are online anyway, right?
I still feel like seems kind of weak, not to.
Well, like SCG didn't let anyone do it, right?
Yeah,
Until
SCG is a good example. They weren't, but I
I
guess
think
there's
did they
been
end up doing it eventually? I don't remember.
I
I
don't
just know
know,
that it was.
but I'm not trying to hammer on Magic with this announcement. That's
No.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
my
for
sure.
intention. But I like the idea of letting you defer your invites or be
I
able
love
to
that.
do an invite, especially with these being in paper. We don't know what spikes are going to look like. Spikes are going to happen
Yeah.
right now. We're going to have
Uh,
different strains.
Once again, that's just like a good strategy
Hmm.
as a card developer and game going, hey, we want to support you and we want to keep supporting you. We want to have these events, but we don't know what it's going to look like. So let's set this up so you don't feel bad if you qualify
Yeah.
and you don't feel comfortable going to an event.
Yep.
And so that's really cool.
And
Yeah.
it's $100,000 prize pool for the Pro Tour. They pay out the top 64. 33rd through 64th gets 500. 17 through 32, 750 plus a Pro Tour invite because, like I said, top 32 starts getting those invites.
Okay.
9th through 16 will get 1,500 with the invite. 5th through 8th will get 3,000 gold and then a gold legendary along with the invite. Which again, those gold legendaries are gonna go. They usually go around like 1,000 or more. So
Like,
go ahead.
how many people are estimated to like get queued for this though?
I'm not sure how many people. I know you have like the national events. You also have like the calling events, and
Mm-hmm.
the weird, not weird, but they also give invites based on your planeswalker points is the equivalent. So you
Okay.
know how planeswalker points got you by is these planeswalker points qualify you for like big tournaments like nationals, PTIs, things like that, which is
Mm-hmm.
super cool. It gives you they want to incentivize you to go to your local gaming store to play.
Mm-hmm.
And this is their way of be like, hey, if you go to your local gaming store, we'll invite you to come to like a big nationals event, a big like potentially getting into the Pro Tour, those kind of things, making your local game store an actual stepping stone to the Pro Tour, which I think is
Okay.
a really cool way of doing it.
Yeah, so like I like that once again that structure.
Mhm.
It really does for me come down to the how that point system is going to work out, obviously.
Right.
Because with it, if it incentivizes you to play, but it's not like a punishment if you don't, I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Right. No,
So,
100% agree. And another
but
thing
that's really good support for the local stores, though.
another thing I love about this game is they have like a section. If you're a
Hmm.
content creator, they want you to let them know because they'll
Hmm.
send you free stuff to highlight
That's
you
cool.
as a content creator. They try to make sure anybody that's a part of that gets like preview cards for sets and things like that, and they'll advertise your stuff, which I
Oh,
think
that's
is
good.
really
Yeah.
cool. I think that's a really cool way of doing it. I don't think they do any early release. There's probably people out there that get some things. I
Yeah.
wouldn't doubt. But just the fact that the Pro Tours announced they're gonna have like two big premier events that weekend. The first one being called the Calling, which is essentially the Grand Prix. The next
Hmm.
one I don't know really how to compare because this one I've never heard of before. This is one that's fresh to me. It's called Battle Harden. It's pretty much another tournament, but it's the Blitz format. Anybody that knows me knows I hate Blitz with a passion. Like an
Okay, why is that?
so it's a more expedited game. It's still best of
Okay.
one. It's expedited where you start. It's a 40 card deck, no more, no less.
Hmm.
You're you use what's called young heroes in this. So typically your life total starts at 40 for like a regular game with your adult
Hmm.
heroes minus one hero. One hero starts at less life total. It starts at 30, and that's more
Okay.
of a burn strategy. So because they have like an advantage with they're not really dealing with combat, so they gave them less of a life total.
Hmm.
But this one you start at 20 life total. You have 40 cards. It's just super fast. Problem I have that burn strategy I told you is like the best thing to do in that format because you.
Okay.
So turn one, both players gets the drawback to their full hand size, which is four
Hmm.
typically. But with the burn strategy, you can just go be like, all right, being on the draw mat doesn't matter. Being on the play don't matter. Be like, all right, deal all this damage to you. Draw back to my normal hand size.
That
And
makes sense.
if
Yep.
you go second, it's really messed up because you go, all right, burn your face, untap. I mean, not untap, but you know what I mean. Go to my turn. After I draw my hand back, burn your face again. Draw back to my hand size. Like it's pretty fucked up. That's
Okay.
why I don't like the blitz format. When it
Sure.
feels like one versus everything else, like and it's a
Hmm.
clear like stance on it, I'm not a fan of it. I feel the problem I have with it too is it's still a best of one. And I
Hmm.
get the reason, the whole purpose of Flesh and Blood, which I eventually want to do like an episode where it's gonna be more like an introduction to Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
But pretty much how it's designed is you have two people in like a coliseum, and they're pretty much
Okay.
facing each other. That's why they don't let intentional draws because they have the logic. Like if you're gonna go in the coliseum in front of like what are they called and what that they used to be emperors or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The whole
Yep.
concept is if you're in front of the emperor, or would you really be able to go in there and be like, all right, shake hand, we are gonna intentionally draw.
That's funny. Okay.
Like they have like the whole design of the game based around that, where it's a
Okay.
Sure.
hero versus hero kind of combat. And so I get the best of one, but when it comes to the blitz form, it's something I feel like something needs to get addressed. I'm eventually gonna write an article right up on like the full detail of why I don't like it, because there's a few other
Hmm.
things outside of just the one deck being super fucked up. One, they should just ban that hero and just say screw it. Like,
Yeah, that definitely sounds like that's the case for me. You have one
yeah.
hero that's warping the entire format. It sounds like an easy ban.
And I will say, I played Blitz like games. I played with Noah. I played with Jeff. Like when we were messing around, not really messing around. We're both all playing like tier decks. Like whether we proxied a few cards at the beginning, and all the matches were like super interesting and fun to play. It's just every time I played against that wizard deck,
Hmm.
not close, not even
Okay.
close. They just beat me down on like kill me on turn 2 and 3, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I drove over here, guys. This was fun.
Sheesh.
But
Yeah.
I do at least appreciate that, they are supporting their different deck styles and games. It's not like they're
Yeah.
only supporting one. I always appreciate games that, if I'm a blitz player, I want to be able to get qualified through
Yeah.
a blitz tournament. So.
No, and I do think they need to have the events. If you're gonna have that format, you should utilize
Mhm.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
format.
For sure.
Obviously, they have like their own version of Commander. which that won't be utilized ever. But the fact that they're actually having a tournament for both formats during their Pro Tour weekend, I wish they had that instead of Blitz. That would have been sealed because I love the sealed format in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sealed format is super interesting how they do it because you pretty much can only play cards that's in your hero's type.
Mm-hmm.
It's just awesome. It's like drafting EDH essentially, where you can only have like an identity. This is the same way. But they have like generic cards. Usually every pack is going to have a ton of generic cards to be able to fill into your deck and so forth. I've had a super ton of fun. I've played a ton of sealed of this game. Most of my events, I probably want to say like 90% of my events have been sealed in some form. When I went to the calling event in Vegas, I drafted a lot that weekend to learn how to draft. And I mean a lot.
Okay.
Not bad since you're getting all that product and you're getting into the game. So
Yeah, that's another reason I have so much flesh and blood now is because I played a shit ton of sealed. But I feel like it also helps you being able to have an understanding how deck building because can you really play constructed and like construct your decks correctly if you don't even understand how deck building works in a new game?
Yeah.
Which that's why I think people should be playing sealed and limited in any form in any game that they do get into because it's the best way to learn. You get a lot of those insights that you probably won't get by just jumping into a constructed event that you. Let's say when we went to F&M originally, we were playing those Bad Brews. Steven, I don't know if you did the whole Bad Brew era, Dewey, or not.
Oh yeah. We've talked about this. So yeah.
But when you go to F&M, you don't really get that full like learning experience playing these Bad Brews at those first F&Ms because the power level and the levels are just so different. Where when you play sealed, like they're gonna be different, but not as bad.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever be as bad as like when you're playing. For example, when I played in standard, it was against like the Abzan aggros and all that good stuff when Theros first rotated, and I'm out here with a 5-color dragons deck with no fetches because I thought fetches were stupid. I was like, I ain't taking life. Are you serious?
I laugh because like you have like the Bad Brews when you first start a deck and you're building it and you don't really get it. You just like something and you want to build it around it, or you think something's cool, so you're building it around it. And then you eventually get to the point where you're like building the decks that you should be building, and it's the tier deck, and I can go and compete with this. And then inevitably, though, we always go back to just building Bad Brews, but this time we go, this deck is bad. I know it's bad, but I get to do this one cool thing.
Yeah.
But at least that's different.
Yeah, I know.
But I want to talk to you, not the like, purely because we're gonna jump into Alchemy in a few months. I want to also say they have one other thing that they're doing, is they're doing like a dinner banquet for all the Pro Tour participants as well.
Wow.
It just makes sense. Like I as you guys know, I get involved with like association stuff. I do a lot of nonprofit board work. It's pretty common for you to recognize your performers, you recognize your people, and you take them out. And that usually involves taking your people out to dinner, wining and dining them. They feel great. And it's an awesome way to do awards, talk about the series. You give your Pro Tour people these like highlights about what's coming up, so they get like the sneak peek, and then you do the official announcement the next morning kind of thing. It's just cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I'm just take a look and make sure there was nothing.
They're partnering with Star City Games, right? Like that's how these are working. They're doing these callings at SCGCon.
So the Pro Tour is being done through Channel Fireball, which is having the calling, and then they're also doing calling events with SCGCon. So that's showing me a sign that they decide we're not going to stick to one.
Whoever's going to do an event,
similar to how Grand Prix used to be, where like you would have different like. Pastimes would run a Grand Prix. SCG would run a Grand Prix before they let Channel Fireball pretty much be the monopoly of the Grand Prix circuit and just run them all. So I'm reading this. This is a nice little line. So it says all players who join us in New Jersey, including Pro Tour competitors and fans who take part in selected public events, will receive a one-time only Pro Tour #1 commemorative promo card, commemorative sleeves, and will be invited to the Pro Tour Players Banquet. So that includes all the players that are just playing in the calling events and stuff too.
Nice.
They'll be able to go to the banquet. It's truly a celebration of Flesh and Blood and its purpose to bring people together in the Flesh and Blood through the common language of playing great games.
I would just really love it if this was the case of like, you know how we went to the Ren Fair and it's just a bunch of people hanging out, eating their food,
Oh,
Yeah.
which when
and I'm like having a big old festival from that aspect.
I will say there was a shit ton of cosplayers in the one calling event that I went to, which is
Sure.
awesome that they're starting to get those. It looks like they're gonna have some of the artists is gonna be there for Flesh and
Hmm.
Blood. And then they're gonna have a ton of side events like for the regular, like whether you want to draft, do sealed, yada yada.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it's being held at the Meadowlands Convention Center, not the greatest convention center in the world, to be honest.
Right.
That the thing is not large. Steven knows that we've been there for Grand Prix many times. It always gets super crammed, so I'm very
Mhm.
interested to see how it goes. I'm hoping it goes well. There's a good chance I'm going to this event. I'm
Okay.
about like 99% sure that I'm going to this event at this point. Mainly because I already put the time off when I heard the announcement.
That is
So
a thing.
yeah, so good chance I'm going. The 1% being something drastic happens in personal life, who knows? But as of right now, I'm planning on going. Don't know. I'm probably flying because I'm an old man at this point.
Sure.
But I
I,
definitely.
I will. I know that we talked about this a tiny bit. That SCG Con, the prize walls were like separate for Magic and for Flesh and Blood. The fact that it's actually just Flesh and Blood themselves running the event at the con makes a lot more sense to me now. That's the case,
Oh, you talk
right?
about from SCG Con? Um,
Yeah.
I still don't know if it made sense at this last one at all because they didn't really have anything to do with like Flesh and Obviously, they gave SCG like a pro tour invite slot and stuff to do like a pro quest, but
Right.
I
I just mean
just
go forward, not the one that they ran, not the one that SCG ran.
right.
But if Flesh and Blood is coming and running the actual event, I think that makes sense because they're probably paying a fee, paying the cost to be there, handling all the stuff, and then they get to reap all the rewards from it as well.
Sure.
Well,
Makes
well, Flesh and Blood won't be like everything's gonna be done through SCG. I think it's similar to how Wizards would be like, "Hey, we're gonna put up the prize pool. You handle all the
Okay.
registration stuff, and however they used to do for the Grand Prix for the different organizers. That's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
much
So it's still Star
it's
City staff
yes,
doing all the work,
it's
or CFP
replica.
staff.
Yes, it's replica of literally this. Like Channel Fireball is doing all the work for the Pro Tour. It's all their
Okay.
staff, all their handling, and SCG Con's gonna be the same way. Where SCG's gonna be handling the whole calling event and all that, staffing it, doing all that kind of stuff. But Flesh, I don't. Obviously, I'm not into the detail. I don't know what Magic did to really like benefit like both parties because it had to
Hmm.
benefit both sides
sure.
in some way. Obviously,
Right.
Channel Fireball got the advertisement from Wizards, and the same
Hmm.
way they're getting advertisement from Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel like there's probably some additional things that's being like thrown in there. Obviously, I'm not. They haven't invited me to many meetings, so
Yeah, we're still waiting for it.
if
It's probably just lost in the mail.
now if I ever got invited, that's gonna be our live podcast.
Yeah.
Stay
I'm
tuned.
pretty sure we would have like daily episodes leading up to it for the hype that you would have for it.
Oh, 100%. But no, I'm super excited. And then, like I said, there's gonna be a calling in Indianapolis. I won't be playing the main event because I'm already going to be teaming with some of the
Hmm.
fellow Swish members, and I don't back out on team events. Never been my thing. It won't start now.
Are you calling me out because I backed out?
A
No.
little bit actually. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
know you backed out. Like it is pretty
You
funny.
didn't know?
Yeah, I did know.
I am the minister for a wedding or the priest or whatever it
I
is.
don't know.
I forget.
I don't
I'm
know.
ordained.
I don't know what's more romantic than getting married at SCJ Con.
Tell
That
that to
is
Nick. Tell
romantic.
that to Nick. Tell that to Nick and his wife, or his future wife, man.
Like they should be going. There's like additional halls they could have rented out. Imagine you running back and forth between rounds. I got a wedding to do real quick. I'll be right back, guys. Tell him I went to the bathroom.
I'm like, so Nina is also ordained, and she did a couple weddings last year.
Oh yeah.
And I'm about to like message her in a bit because I just finally got my invite and go, hey, they have me saying that I can have a +1, obviously, and whatnot. Do you want to go? Also, what are the tips and tricks for this to make sure I'm doing everything I'm supposed to?
That's nice. No, that's awesome.
Uh,
No, I hope you have a good time. It should definitely be a good time. Weddings are always fun. Not for me. I think they're boring as hell. But for most people, they're super fun.
Yeah. I
No,
should get a new suit for this. I
talk
should get
about.
a suit for marrying people.
Yeah, you probably should. I would probably just do the shirt tuxedo. I like the shirt
No.
tux. I'm wearing that to my.
I own one of those for the record.
I gotta go to a wedding in June to like a good close friend for me and Ray from our
Hmm.
Lansing original Lansing crew.
Hmm.
He's getting married, and unfortunately, he sent me an invite. Um, so I'm gonna go, and I think I'm gonna wear the shirt tux.
Nice.
I think I'm gonna wear the shirt tux, guys.
Classy. Classy.
You know,
Reasonable.
yeah.
Well, actually, I would kind of appreciate if you did this. Wear the shirt tux, wear a tux. It's time to like go down to like the reception, have fun. Like, oh guys, I gotta finally take this all off, and then you reveal the shirt tux.
That would be awesome. Or I wear the shirt tux over an actual suit.
I'm for it.
Like, and then I'm like, all right, at the reception, finally I could take this shirt off, and it's just a big ass suit, like just underneath. Dude, I just want you to know, if you ever get married, I'm showing up in the Swish gear, and you're like, I'm gonna be like, in the player conduct, it said I have to wear this at all events.
When I get married, I'm gonna have a table just for the Swish guys. Why are they in the back corner? Well,
I don't want you talking to
particular
my
reason.
I don't want you talking to my family or anybody in my business world.
You know, if like when I get actually married, it's gonna be a pretty funny wedding because it has to be like a Vietnamese wedding. And let's say it's Nina and it's an Italian wedding or Sicilian wedding and a Vietnamese wedding. It's gonna be funny between like all the people that can only speak English, all the people that can only speak Vietnamese, and then all the people that can only speak either Italian or Sicilian. Having to have three translators or two translators there for everything we say.
That'd be awesome. No, that
Oh.
weddings are fun. Like if you go to the
Mhm.
right one. The biggest issue I have with this one is he he's been in like Alcohol Anonymous. He was in that for many years.
Mhm.
I feel like it might be a dry wedding.
It might be, or like I also know people that don't drink for their like my one of my friends got married 2 years ago, and so she doesn't drink. Her husband drinks and is also like works for the alcohol industry.
Okay.
Um, and so they created. What I thought was really cool was like you had all these mocktail options and non-alcoholic options, plus you had the alcoholic
Oh,
options.
nice.
So you
Oh,
never
that's good.
felt like you were out of place for
Mm-hmm.
something, and that's a big deal. I think when you go to like bars and stuff like that, and so everyone's drinking. If you're drinking a cocktail of some sort or a mocktail, and nobody knows that it doesn't have alcohol in it, you don't get pressured by a bunch of
Right.
other people that have a drink. Because if you walk around with water, all of a sudden you're getting pressured.
Yep.
Everyone's like, "Oh, you want to drink? You want to drink?" And if you don't want to have a drink, you don't want to have a drink. That's okay. So I don't know. I've seen that as a pretty high success, but
Okay.
obviously she chose this on a I just don't want to drink anymore,
Right.
and not a
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Like I'm happy that he's doing really. He's about to get into law
Mhm.
school too, which is good for him.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. Very big tip. Yeah. Always nice to take a big old responsibility of debt. But
I
yeah.
looked at being a lawyer, but it's
Oh,
if you don't go into big law, like it's hard to make money. I feel like,
you need to get into corporate law. That's where the
hmm
money's at. But that
and I
looks
would
so
like
boring.
right, and I would like want to like go help people, and that doesn't pay money.
It doesn't. Don't be the good guy. Good guys finish last.
Hmm.
But talk about finishing last. Let's talk about the format I think is on last place of everyone's heart. Let's talk about Alchemy.
I thought you were gonna say Pioneer.
Yeah, I was
No.
about to say,
Pioneer.
is Pioneer even lower? Because to me, Pioneer's lower.
Oh
But
no,
I'm
Pioneer's going to
pretty
have a
sure
paper tournament. Alchemy isn't. Think about it.
one of them can have a paper
yeah, I was gonna
tournament.
That's
say
not.
when?
That's
When is it having a
listen.
paper tournament? I haven't heard about this
In
paper tournament.
Indianapolis.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, suck it, nerd.
Oh, sure, the team event. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Okay,
Still
fine.
counts.
It
It
does.
doesn't count. Does it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll see this still area. It's
It,
fine.
I think it
Oh.
counts more
I mean,
than a
Alchemy is
digital
doing a lot
tournament.
more for me because I'm playing it weekend after weekend, but it depends
Oh.
if you play digitally or not.
You could play Pioneer weekend after weekend if you play
you
digitally.
can, yeah.
Right.
I think the events we're doing are a little more meaningful than the
Are they?
stuff you're doing on Moto at the moment. But
It's only meaningful to you. It's in the eye of the beholder, right?
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, everything's in the eye of the beholder. So
Exactly. So at the end of the day, Larry's right again. It's cool.
you definitely think that.
Yes,
I will agree that you definitely think you're right.
I mean, I'll agree. You have a good point. You have a good
Mhm.
point that Pioneer does have a paper tournament coming up in the next month.
Right.
See, Steven
but-
said I'm always right. That's everyone heard
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Amazing what you hear.
It-
Like just astounding.
I'm gonna lend you these headphones. They're great.
You actually
must be
ordered
really
them.
nice.
Just
Must be really
prevents you
nice.
from hearing everything.
Exactly. It's a win-win for all. But yeah, we're gonna dive into Alchemy though. The
All right.
format's fine. All jokes aside, I thought it was fun a little bit. I haven't got to play it a super ton as y'all have been playing it a lot because you've been doing events. But the little bit that I got to taste it, it's been super fun. I still personally rather play Historic mainly because I like the card pool a little bit more for Historic.
Right.
And also, I'm not a big fan of the whole nerf idea.
Sure.
Like the nerfing of the standard card. Maybe it's just some of the cards they selected. We'll be going through all those as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to start with I just talked about some of the new cards that got introduced. They had like an Alchemy set, which you can get buy booster packs for a very exclusive amount of various gems.
Yep.
And I don't know, was this draftable or no?
It was not.
Not
It was
draftable.
not,
Okay,
which
so-
is really, really annoying because I had to put
Oh, I bet you did.
$40 onto Arena this past month or these past few weeks, and I hadn't put money into this client in 3 or 4 years. So I was pretty annoyed, but I just needed the cards. I needed to test these decks.
Yep.
So, whatever. I mean,
And it not only was it annoying that you couldn't draft it, the boosters were structured awfully.
Were they?
Terrible. They were so loaded. All the majority of the alchemy cards are rares.
Oh yeah, it is right. I'm just taking a gander at these, and I was like, these are a lot of rares.
Yeah, overwhelmingly they were rares. So what you had happen, see if I can pull it up here, because this bothered me that it didn't have the normal structure.
Yeah.
And so because of that, not only did you have to only pay money to get these cards, you had to spend much more money than you should have had to because of how they structured.
it's a money grab. I mean, that's all it is. It's them making money. It's Wizards
Wizards would
knowing
never
how
do
to
that.
make money.
They wouldn't do
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, you're right. They would never do that.
Yeah.
But it's them making money. It's exactly the same as those stupid. I forget Jump Start. It's the same as Jump Start. Jump Start was trash.
Oh
Those
yeah, I was
decks
mad
were-
about that too.
What'd you say, Dewey?
I was really mad about that too.
Jump Start was terrible. Those
Yeah.
decks weren't even fun. Those events,
Nope.
like I tried doing it and was like, oh, I'm just gonna do a lot of this. And then I got some decks and I was like, this deck is so bad, I don't even want to play to 2 wins. I'm so pissed.
I remember when you
I
had
was
that.
so pissed, dude. The freaking one of the the evolved deck was
Yep.
so bad. Are you kidding me? The only way I won a game was kicking scale up. I didn't even know that card had kick or what it's not kicker, it's overload. I overloaded scale up. Who even knows that card has overload? What?
I actually forgot
Give me
that
a
card does
break.
have
I
overload, don't
overloaded
it?
that card with a freaking whatever the Hornet, the 3/4 Hornet for 5 mana that makes Hornets every time. I don't even
Hornet
know how it
Queen?
makes Hornets. I don't even remember. The card's
Oh.
not even good.
Not Hornet
What'd you
Queen?
say?
Was it Hornet
No,
Queen?
no, that card's actually reasonable. It's a
Oh.
5 mana 3/4, and then it makes Hornets every time you put a counter on something or something weird. You get 1 corner. I'm not even sure if it triggers multiple times. The
That
card is
card-
awful.
That card might be broken.
Oh my god, the card was so bad, dude. First of all, it's a 5 mana 3/4 vanilla.
That's good rate.
Doesn't even have any ability on it. It's a Hornet. Why doesn't it fly?
It
Is
don't
what I
fly?
want to know. No, it doesn't fly. It's just it's like a queen hornet, dude, just hanging out in the hive. It didn't even. I don't know. It might have flew. I was so mad with this deck, dude. Was so disgusted.
should
But
be.
I did
You
eventually
should
get
be.
2 wins. The deck was terrible. It was one of the worst experiences playing Magic I've ever had. It was such a miserable deck.
I remember.
and I
I
did
think
one
I
or two.
remember. I think I remember hating playing those decks so much that I didn't actually think it was worth my time for those 2 wins for the shot at extra cards.
Here's the real kicker, too. The real kicker was there were a few really fun decks, but the problem is you can only play those decks like four or 5 times, and then you have the cards that you need from that archetype, so you're encouraged to never play that deck again, which is trash because it was actually fun. Like the black, there were some iterations of black white that were actually really good and interesting and had some good play patterns, and it was actually like, they had some good synergy. The cards made sense, and then you played this green blue deck, and you just wanted to vomit all over your keyboard because it was just one of the worst things you will ever do playing. It was awful. It was awful. It's just so bad. I can't even the deck was so underpowered compared to the other decks and was also not fun. It was just I couldn't believe how bad it was. I could not believe how bad it was. I really. And the black white deck was in the same on the same token. The black white deck was really good. Like it was probably too good. It felt a lot better than everything else. So I played this one deck that felt just completely unplayable and way worse than everything else. And then I played this other deck that felt really great and better than everything else. I don't know. It just the point is Jumpstart was garbage and was another really good money grab for them. I like the idea of it to an extent, but at the end of the day, the way they structure it, you can never make any value. It's ridiculous. They're just taking your money. They're just give us your money, please. And that's what they did to us with Alchemy too. And I actually Alchemy as a format is fun. I'm enjoying Alchemy. I don't mind it. I think it was a cool idea, but just stop robbing us, man. Like it's just robbing us blind. It really is. It's just and I get it. They're a business. They're trying to make money. It just it pisses me off. It really does because I've when you're supposed, the whole thing of Arena is if you're good at limited, which I would like to consider myself pretty solid limited player, and I've gotten a lot better over the pandemic, especially because most of what I did was just play limited on Arena.
Right.
But the whole idea of Arena is that if you're good at limited, you're supposed to be able to just ride that, right? Yeah. And you're just should never have to put money into it. And that was what I was expecting. After I initially put $100 into Arena when I first got into it, $50 to $100 around there, I built the Sultai deck with Hydroid Krasis and Vivian and all that. And after I built that deck, I just never needed to put any money into Arena. And then all of a sudden, I'm making content every day for our channel, and so I need to have these cards. I need to test decks for these events. I want to play these events. I want to play the good decks or whatever. So I'm not going to let stupid stuff like card availability cause me to not play decks. That'd be ridiculous.
Right.
They got some cash off me, and I'm a little annoyed about it still, but
as you should be, because it's the game should be with all these card games, these online collectible card games, they should be structured like what you're talking about, where you are allowed to either go time investment, money investment, or some hybrid in between. That's supposed to be the rule. If you are actively playing, you're picking up whatever free model coin we have. In this case, it's gold, right? And you're supposed to be able to use that gold to just keep going. And if you're good at the drafts, at the limited formats, and even some of the constructed, you're supposed to be able to make that back with a time investment. And it's worthwhile to them because they're seeing more and more people play the game, right? But when you get rid of that and you force people to spend money, they feel bad about it. They don't want to do it as much. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Really annoyed me, as the viewers can probably understand, but whatever. The real point of all of this is we're talking about Alchemy, and Alchemy's sweet. Alchemy has been, I've enjoyed it. There's some really busted cards, but overall the format has been fun to play. And it doesn't feel like there is something that is way miles ahead of everything else, which is a good sign for a format. And the fact that they are able to nerf things as opposed to ban things means it can be an ever-changing format, an ever-adapting format. And hopefully that's a good thing. And hopefully they will manage it well. And it will continue to be a fun format and not stupid. So here's hoping. But I have enjoyed my experience with the format thus far. I think it's pretty fun.
I agree. And I did do the same thing as you. Most sets I'll usually buy the $100 whatever the $100 gem thing is.
Yeah.
And I will use that for events, for drafts, and buy cards if I absolutely need to. I generally prefer to use that for like my tournament entries when I have to inevitably do like an open. Buy some packs if I have to just build a deck if it's like a weekend event coming up and I haven't been able to draft as much, or just pay for some drafts. But yeah, the idea that I just had to throw a bunch of money at it, and no matter what, and it just feels bad. So, but I'm enjoying it as well, and I thought I was gonna enjoy it a lot less, like a whole lot less.
I did too. And then I just started playing it, and it's still just Magic. So, yeah, I still love playing it. So, whatever. Initially we kind of complained about the Alchemy cards, and then you shut up and you play, and it's like,
yeah, I hate it, but I'll keep playing it. Well, I guess I'll get to it when we talk about the rebalances. So let's get to that.
Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and go through some of these Magic cards that they did decide to put in the Alchemy set, and I believe there's 63 totally new cards, and that's where we're gonna start. So these ain't going to be any of the nerf cards, or rebalance is the better term. I don't know which term is actually correct, but pretty much they took some cards and watered them down and made them sad little pandas.
Right.
But we'll get to those little sad pandas momentarily. We're going to start with the white cards. The first one I have listed here is Angel of Eternal Dawn. 2 and a white, 2/4 angel flying. Enters the battlefield. It becomes day. It can't become night, and opponents can't cast spells with mana value greater than the number of turns they have begun. It's a very interesting little hate card. I guess like somewhat of a Taxes style card, right? Stops like ramp style strategies because you can't really ramp effectively. Another card that I like seeing cards like this that's in Alchemy because you can obviously tell that these could not be paper.
Right.
Yeah.
With things like how many turns the game has been played, yada yada.
Yeah.
Things are just like awful to actually, monitor.
Exactly.
Or keep track of.
And
like you can, but it's so cumbersome.
Yeah, and it's just so opening a door for like cheating, taking low edges, yada yada. This card's cool,
I don't think anybody's really playing that card though.
This card, Angel of the Eternal Dawn. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I do think it's a cool card though.
It is.
I like the whole concept behind it. I think it's a nice little unbalanced card for what I have seen, just in comparison to standard rates at least. So this kind of card is something I could definitely see being playable eventually. Maybe if there could be like some like hate style card, maybe if ramp starts to explode, this could be a card that gets in like a lot of sideboards of like white X decks.
Yep.
So definitely, I could see this some being on the radar. Like if ramp gets big, expect to see some Angel of the Eternal Dawn.
Yep.
Moving on, I think this card's awesome. By the way, I'll explain why. This is Slayer's Bounty. 1 white.
Yeah.
When this enters the battlefield, look at the creature cards in target opponent's hand. Whenever you sack Bounty or another clue, draft a card for Slayer Bounty Spellbook. 2, sack it, draw a card. Let's see. Do I get to see the... I don't know if I could see draft a card from its spellbook. Oh, the spellbooks are down below. My bad. I forgot spellbooks.
Yep.
Now that I was trying to figure out what those spellbook listings are for. So spellbooks are listed an assortment of cards. And then for this one, I'm just going to go through them really quick. We have Anointed Procession, Cathar's Crusade, Authority Console, Sigil, The Empty Throne, All That Glitters, Vanishing Light, Divine Visitation, Duelist Heritage, Glorious Anthem, Gauntlets of Light, Teleportation Circle, Angelic Gift, Spectral Steel, Cleric Class, and Angelic Exaltation. Is that what it is? I can't see.
Yep, Angelic Exaltation. Yep.
And so with drafting, do we get to pick? Is that how that works?
So basically what happens is 3 of those 15 are generated randomly, and then you pick one of the 3.
Okay. That's why I wanted to get clarification from you two, since you've been playing this format a little bit more than I have. The fact I like this because it's legendary artifact type clue. That's pretty cool.
That's why you like it?
Yeah, I think that's just cool.
So let's clear something up though. I think you read the wrong spell book for this card. The spell book you read was for Faithful Disciple, which is an uncommon.
Oh, there's multiple. I was going based on the color. Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, bro. Every card has its own spell book, and the one you just read was for Faithful Disciple.
Preview. So, what I just read, when we get the Faithful Disciple, remember that's what that one was for.
There you go.
But let's go ahead and go through Slayer's Bounty Day. There's even a nice little picture of Slayer's Bounty right on top, guys. How could you miss it? I'll show you how. Rewind this about 3 minutes. Show you exactly
Funny.
how to miss it. But yeah, we have Bounty Agent, Outflank, Bound in Gold, Bring the Trial, Glass Casket. What is that? Reprobation? Is that what it's called? My vision sucks.
It's hold on. Reprobation. Yep.
Yep. Collar the Culprit. Conspiracy Rest. Expel. I forget what Rest does. Is that just a lockdown card?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Fairgrounds Warden, Iron Verdict, Lunas Bonds, Raise the Alarm, Seal Away, and Summary Judgment. Alright, so let's go. Man, it was so much better when I was reading the first set of cards.
Well, yeah, it's funny because you'll notice there's always like a theme to the cards, right?
Mhm.
So the theme to these 15 is they're all like crime and punishment, right? Like they're all relating to crime in some way or prison, like bounty agent, Bound in Gold, Outflank isn't necessarily prison related, but Bound in Gold, Bring to Trial, Glass Casket, you're imprisoning something, Reprobation, reprobating, Collar the Culprit, Compulsory Rest. It's just all like, kind of that's the theme, is like imprisonment or stuff like that. And then with Faithful Disciple, it's like you get rewarded for like, I don't know. It's got all these enchantments that have to do with like, kind of like white based enchantment type stuff. But all the and we'll notice with some of the other cards too. They like fit a theme. It's pretty interesting what they did. But I kind of like it. It's cool.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yep, just for those that don't know, Faithful Disciple, I'm just gonna go and cover that now since it's fresh in the mind. It's a 1 in a white 2/2 Vigilant Human Cleric. When it dies, you draft a card from its spell book. And it's an uncommon, so for those that actually want to play it, you don't actually have to burn any rare wild cards. Bro,
Yep.
if that card would have been rare, I'd been furious. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? But let's go ahead and talk about the next 4-drop instant we have. Suntail Squadron, 2 in double white instant. Conjure a card named Suntail Hawk into your hand. If you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, you get to repeat the process. I don't have a picture of Suntail Hawk or anything on here.
It's what you would expect. It's just a little hawk.
Yeah, I was assuming it's like a little basic bird.
It is. Yep,
Just
that's
a
exactly
little
what it is.
bird.
A 1/1 bird.
I cannot you can't convince me that this card's playable in any way.
Yeah, the only way this card would ever be playable is if there was some sort of like martyr proc strategy, and there is not one right now, so
Fair
not
enough.
very good at the moment. I do think a card like this potentially, I mean, it could be good in something, but again, it would have to be a martyr proc kind of strategy. So,
Makes sense.
can that ever work in Alchemy? Maybe. It's possible, but
only time will
unlikely, I
tell,
think.
right?
Yep.
Next, we have Angel of Unity, 1 in a white, 1/3 flying, lifelink Angel Cleric. Whenever Angel Unity enters the battlefield or you cast a party spell, choose a party creature card in your hand. It perpetually gets +1/+1. A party spell card or spell is a cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard for a refresher on the party mechanics since it doesn't get touched too much, unfortunately. If they would have just made one land come in untapped, it could have been a whole nother story. Just saying.
Would have been a lot better.
Just saying.
That's for sure.
But that's a discussion for another time. But when it comes to this, for those that don't know what perpetually means, so pretty much it's going to be on the card and it's going to be adjusted for the rest of the game.
Yep, in any zone as well.
Yep.
So
And it can stack if you get multiple perpetuals.
Yep, and it's for this specific copy. Correct me if I'm wrong. So if you
Yep,
get an additional, if you get a new one in hand, that one won't get the bonus.
correct. Yep,
Okay.
which is something that always confused me. Is when Perpetually initially got announced, I thought every copy in your deck perpetually
I did too.
gained that text, but that's not how that works. It's the specific card.
It's probably for a good reason.
Oh my God, yeah, it would
Mhm.
be really stupid if it were every copy. Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Next on the list is we have Captain Everhart, 1 in a white, human soldier, legendary creature, 1/1 double strike, spells cast from among cards you drew this turn, cost 1 less. Spells cast from among cards your opponents drew this turn, cost 1 more. This card is freaking cool. I think
It's
this
cool,
card's
yeah. I haven't really seen it see any play in anything
Probably
yet,
not.
but it is a cool card.
I've only seen it in a little bit. Some fringe decks were playing it.
Sure.
And I could see it, them trying to play around with it, but I haven't been blown away by it by any means.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's, but it's cool. It's
It
a cool
is
card.
a really cool card. Then we have Divine Purge, 1 double white, exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 3 or less. They perpetually gain. This spell costs 2 more to cast, and this permanent enters the battlefield tapped for as long as each of them remains exiled. Its owners may play it. I know Dewey was playing last night and was playing this card in his deck.
Yep.
And I actually had to ask him what it did because I didn't understand how they replayed their Loris after it was removed.
It's a very interesting card. Very interesting.
No, I think the card's pretty good. It's a nice little mini board wipe, right? It doesn't hit everything,
It's
obviously.
a stall tactic, yeah.
It buys you just. I mean, it's interesting. I'm playing 3 of it in my deck right now, and it does exactly what you need to, which is just buy you sometimes, a lot of times. And with all the tokens that people are playing,
right,
you can punish them pretty hard too, which is cool.
Can
it
imagine
does punish tokens a lot.
Next, we have Ethereal Escort, 2 in a white spirit, 3/3 lifelink. Whenever Ethereal Escort enters the battlefield or attacks, you choose a card in your hand that perpetually gains lifelink. All right, we're gonna pause for a second. Anytime I see a spirit without flying, I just want to throw up. I don't understand why spirits don't all have flying. I just want to put that out there. I don't understand.
They don't all need flying.
Spirits fly. That's what God says.
That's what God says. Oh boy.
But no, this card's really cool too. Like I said, I don't know if it's mythic level good, but I think the card's, like I said, it's something I feel like it may not be getting a ton of play right now. You guys correct me if I'm wrong if it is being played or not.
It's not.
Right. I just don't feel like it's doing enough, right?
No, the only spot I could see a card like this maybe being okay would be in like a Heliod deck. Giving Heliod lifelink would be really, really cool. But it's just like it competes with so many other good cards at the 3 slot, which is really awkward. Again, it could maybe be good in those kind of decks, but you're just doing so much at the 3 slot already. You've got Heliod, you've got the Oak combo, which is typically the best way to build that deck, I think. And then, Skyclave Apparition, there are other good 3s as well. It's just infinite good 3-drops in the white decks. So if this card would have been like a 2-drop and a 2/2 or something, I would have been a lot more for this card. But as it is, I think they just costed it incorrectly to make this card playable.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie to you guys, like the rarities on these cards, it feels like they just like pulled a rarity out of a hat with some of these.
They didn't pull it out of a hat. They just made sure that they made a bunch of rares and mythics.
Honestly, Escort, like that just feels like an uncommon.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It feels like an uncommon. I agree.
Yeah, like mythic.
At best a rare. At best a rare.
Yeah,
but honestly, I'm happy they made it a mythic and not a rare, because at least it's a mythic and not a rare.
Magic Finance, right? It's like so opposite of on paper. Where
like, you know what would have made a mythic for me? All the cards in your hand gain lifelink when it came into play.
I could see that.
And even there, I don't know how good that really is. But it would be more reasonable for that tier.
We haven't talked about this card yet, and I'm not sure if we'll get to it tonight or on a future episode, but compare this card to like Furnace Whelp, right? Furnace Whelp, for those that don't know, is a 2-mana red dragon, and they did edit it. They did just recently edit this and make it a little worse. But so what it used to be, I'm going to try and remember what it was before the edit, because I'm looking at the edited version right now. But what it used to be was 1 generic, 1 red, flying. And at the beginning of your end step, each dragon card in your hand perpetually gains the spell cost 1 less to cast. That was the old version. The new version, which is still probably better than the white card we were just talking about. And by the way, this Whelp is an uncommon. It now is a 1/1 flying haste. At the beginning of your upkeep, so at the beginning of your upkeep, that's different than end step, obviously. Each dragon card in your hand perpetually gains the spell cost 1 less to cast. So basically, they gave this card haste, and then they changed it from end step to upkeep, which is much more easy for somebody to interact with, which is good. This card was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, the way it was printed before.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you compare that card to Escort, and you're like, well, the Whelp seems a lot better, because it is. And for some reason, the Whelp's an uncommon, and this is a mythic. So,
you know,
and it just fits, and the Whelp just fits the curve perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is like super awkward.
Like I said, this should have been a 2-drop. If this card were a 2-drop, this card might actually be good.
Yeah.
Which is literally the difference. Like, just make this a 2/2. If you make this a 2/2 and make it a 2-drop, I think it's playable. I really do.
And give it flying.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, why not? 2-mana 2/2 flying lifelink perpetually just gives a bunch of stuff in your hand lifelink. I'm in for that card.
Just saying, even Casper flew. Just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
Next is Expedition Supplier, 2 and a white, 2/2 human warrior creature. When Expedition Supplier or another human enters the battlefield under your control, conjure a card named Utility Knife onto the battlefield. This ability triggers only once per turn. And for those that don't know what Utility Knife does, it's a pretty medium equipment. Just
very medium. Card's not super good.
No.
It's when the equipment enters, it equips immediately to your creature. It has equip 3, and equip creature has +1/+1. So pretty whatever.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, it's free card, so it's not the end of the world. But I feel like if you're gonna end up doing like a human or warrior kind of thing, there's just so many better 3-drops you could probably be playing.
Yep.
And on top of the awkwardness that they've created with this, I'm also curious if they're going to rebalance things to what they feel it should be for the rarity, on top of the balances that they're going to be doing for gameplay. So
this next card's going to actually be pretty interesting. Is Inquisitor Captain? It actually was just rebalanced.
It was.
So I want to make sure I don't have the rebalanced version from the latest announcement pulled up. I believe now it's when it enters the battlefield and it was cast.
Yes,
correct.
I just want to
if you cast it. Yep, yes. I'm looking at the rebalanced version right now. If you cast it.
All right. Well, since you have the rebalanced version, I don't want to actually just read the wrong version. So go ahead and read out what that card does.
Okay, so we're gonna read what it does now, and then Larry's gonna let you know what it used to do, and we'll talk about why it was so busted before and why they had to rebalance it. But basically, it's a 4-mana 3/3, 3 generic, 1 white, vigilance, human cleric. When Inquisitor Captain enters the battlefield, if you cast it, and there are 20 or more creature cards with mana value 3 or less among cards in your graveyard, hand, and library, seek 2 creature cards with mana value 3 or less, put one of them onto the battlefield, and shuffle the other into your library. Now, what it used to do, what Larry's looking at, is it did not have the if you cast it clause. So what it used to do is when it entered the battlefield, if there are 20 or more creature cards with mana value 3 or less among cards in your graveyard, hand, or library, seek 2 creature cards with mana value 3 or less, put one of them on the battlefield, and shuffle the other into your library. So if you've not played any of this format, one of the really common things that people were doing in Alchemy and Historic was playing Inquisitor Captain, then getting the 3-mana clone that is also a land drop. What was that?
Glasspool Mimic?
Yes, Glasspool Mimic. They were getting Glasspool Mimic, and they were cloning the captain, and then they were spinning again. And then if they hit another Mimic, they would spin again. If they hit a Charming Prince, they would loop it out and spin again. And so what we would see was somebody would, on turn 3 or 4, sometimes turn 3 with mana acceleration, people would play an Inquisitor Captain, and they would just put 5 creatures into play, or something completely ridiculous. It was kind of reminiscent of Gyruda. A little bit. It reminded me a lot of Gyruda, of how you just like Gyruda and then you would start cloning Gyruda and the board just got obnoxious really quick, and it was stupid. It was just dumb. And if you watched some of my streams, I streamed a mono white monument deck that was Yorion blinking the captain and getting a ton of value in that way. And it was just a really stupid card. I mean, it was really dumb. It was a card they needed to address because it was just stupid. How it worked was dumb, and it was clearly too good. It just didn't It didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense, and I'm glad they nerfed that one because it was just a very, very busted card, and it was certainly worth adjusting it.
Yep.
Agreed 100%. When I played against this with the little bit of matches I played against this one time and it was pretty miserable.
Yeah, I mean, if they
like,
did
unlike
the
that
thing, it
Garuda
was so
deck.
stupid, dude.
Yeah, like unlike that Garuda deck, which like didn't really have too much of a game plan if it wasn't combo off, like it did, but it wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
This was just a good mid-range deck that
Yeah.
could just have a great presence anyway. And then when they finally got this, you were like, "Oh, I'm screwed. I'm like just dead." So
Yep, just went whoops. Here's a bunch of things. Beat it.
Whoopsie daisy, I'm dead.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy. Here's a 5-for-1. Can you beat this? No, unfortunately.
You suck. Yep.
You didn't have the board sweeper? Oh, you do? I've got another one. So.
Yeah, suck a nerd. So the next one is the last white card that we have here is Sigardian Evangel.
Evangel.
Yep.
1 in a white 3/1 human cleric. When there's a battlefield, conjure a card name. Oh, just get a copy of it. Okay.
Yep, you get a copy of it.
That card at the beginning of the next end step. When and there's the battlefield, you also tap target permanent you don't control. That's an interesting card.
Yeah, so funny enough, this card, it doesn't look amazing on the surface, and it's not, but it was really good in Mono White Monument because this card being 1 mana basically just meant for every plains or white source that I had, and the entire deck was white sources, you could cast this, you would get a 1/1, you would tap your opponent out, and then basically all the conjures that any number of conjures that you get go to your graveyard. This doesn't create tokens, which then feeds the 4-mana guy from earlier that we were just talking about, Inquisitor Captain. So it would like set up creatures in your graveyard and stuff, and then blinking a bunch of Evangels with Yorion was really stupid. You'd like tap all their lands on their end step, and it's very, very weird. Very, very weird. But yeah, this card is super interesting for sure.
Yeah, I like the fact that from a design perspective, like you don't mind dropping this on turn 2, obviously, and just getting the creature and pitching it. But if you get it late game and you have a bunch of land, you can just go, I'm going to make multiple copies, and just keep slamming on the board. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely a cool card.
Very.
Now we're gonna jump into blue cards, and I know there's going to be a card on this list that Steven has an unhealthy obsession with. So we'll get there. But it's
the last one, at least on my list. It's the last one here on Arena. It's the last one that shows up.
Okay, you're on Arena. It's not the last one for us, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So let's kickstart things with Absorb Energy. 1 double blue instant counter target spell cards in your hand that share type with that card. Perpetually gain the spell cost 1 less. That card's cool. Nice little, it's a cancel with a little upside.
Yeah. Solid counter spell.
I was actually seeing quite a few people play around with it with these control decks, and just so they can maximize against the mirrors and everything like that. So it was very reasonable.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yep. The next we have Unexpected Conversion. 2 in a blue sorcery. Draw 2 cards, and you may exile an insert sorcery card from your hand. If you do, you search your hand and library for any number of cards with the same name. Exile them and then shuffle. Seek and insert a sorcery card for each card exiled from your hand this way. Sorry, I was caught off guard when it said exile from your hand, search your hand and library. I was like, what?
It's a weird card. But basically, think about it like this: it's a divination that in any matchup, if you have a card in your hand that sucks in that matchup, you just exile all of those from your deck, and then you seek another instant or sorcery from your deck into your hand. So let's say you're playing a Control Mirror and you have a Doomscar in your hand. You exile the Doomscar in your hand, and then you go exile every copy of them in your deck, and then you get to replace the Doomscar that you exiled with an instant or with a random instant or sorcery from your deck. So that's kind of how that card works.
I will say, because I misread this the first time I misplayed it. So you draw the extra card for the card you exiled from your hand. The cards in your deck do nothing other than the fact that you're just choosing to exile them. And so I love that approach to it of like, this card's awful for me right now. I really could use something else. So let's get another card. But I still want to keep a copy of that. Or this card's just useless in this matchup. We can get rid of all of them right now.
Yep, and prevent any bad draws off the top of your deck as much as possible.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
No, the card's definitely cool. I would just want to make sure because of how it's worded. It's worded.
It's
in a
very
way,
weird.
Yeah,
very
it's
weird.
worded
Word.
a little differently. Usually, you're not searching your own hand. So,
Yep.
Yep.
Next, we have Clone Crafter. One
Yep.
in a blue human wizard, 1/2. When it's a battlefield, conjure a duplicate of a random creature card from your opponent's library into your hand. It perpetually gains. You may spend mana, even though it's mana of any color, to cast the spell. Talk about a fun card. I've had this played against me.
It's very cool.
It's interesting. It creates some very fun and interesting gameplay when you're playing. Oh, like, oh, I wonder what they got.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, super awesome.
Yeah.
It's
very.
great against the decks that only have like a couple big threats.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just get their big threat no matter what.
Like if
Yep.
you're up against like an opposing control deck that's playing the 1 or 2 like creatures that try to close the game. Like imagine if they're all
Yeah.
I got is Leers in the deck.
Uh-huh.
That's what my opponent did to me, and he kept copying my Lear or my Hullbreaker, and I'm like, this is not good.
Oh, Hullbreaker? Woof. Well, it used to be better, but you know, here we are. Now this
Still
next
great,
card, which is very unplayable, is called Discover the Formula.
Yep.
We have 4 double blue, instant, seek 3 non-land cards, and non-land cards in your hand perpetually gain. This spell costs 1 less to cast. Now, this card doesn't get much play. It's too expensive. You know,
Yeah, 6 mana.
instant speed is not good enough. Steven's obviously giving us that expression like you're batshit crazy. So Steven, go
Correct.
ahead and take a few seconds to reflect how unplayable
Yeah.
this card is.
So basically, I mean, if you've listened to the last few episodes or
Yeah.
read the article that I published recently on our site, you know that I love Discover the Formula. It's I think the most powerful card that they printed in this entire set. It's close. There are some other very very busted ones too. Furnace Whelp was actually up there before the adjustment. Inquisitor Captain was there too. But there are cards that were just like very format defining, and Discover the Formula is absolutely one of those cards. And it's still going to be one of those cards. If you're playing a blue deck in this format, you're playing at least 2 copies of this, maybe 3, and maybe even 4, depending on what the format looks like. But basically, this is just kind of it's card advantage, and it's also like a win condition almost all at the same time, because when you play this card, typically you hit either Liar or Hullbreaker Horror, or some people are playing like Ulrun's Epiphany still, stuff like that. The card's just like so good, man. And the fact that Discover perpetually gives these cards 1 less casting cost means that they cost 1 less when you're liaring them back too. Now, fortunately, they have adjusted Liar now, so the format may change a little bit. But the blue decks are very, very real in this format. You need to respect them, and people were respecting them the last few weeks with very, very hyper aggressive Gruul decks, mono green, stuff like that, which is, again, I talked about in my article why I was going to potentially go with one of those decks with mono green aggro was one of my big considerations. And the reason being was that I thought I could get under Discover the Formula, and green is good at blowing up Key to the Archive, which we'll also get into in the near future as well. Another very busted card that exists from Alchemy. But essentially, Discover the Formula, super, super good. It's like the best draw spell you'll ever play in your life. It just doesn't get any better than this. For a rate for 6 mana, you're going to draw 3 spells every single time, and they're all going to cast 1 less mana than they would have otherwise. It's just such a stupid card, man.
Yeah, no, it's obviously very good. Being able to just like do that with cards like Liar, like you mentioned, is just too much.
Yeah,
value.
so broken. It's very, very ridiculous.
Even with the nerf, the adjustment to Liar, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I think it's just
Liar will still be good, 100%.
Yeah. Like obviously it'll make a difference because it was even more busted, but I definitely think it's still going to be quite good.
Yep.
It's It's also nice because, like, if you, depending on how you tune your deck, you can decide, hey, I want more land spells, and you can get them. Like, there was a version I was playing with like 4 disruptions, so I was like, I haven't drawn any. I really could use a land. I'll discover I've got plenty of mana, and if I want to hit that land, I can still have that option of hitting it. So then, like, I don't know. It just took it to like this whole level of like, depending on how you tune your deck, you can just make it even greater than it is, and it's already stupid good.
No, that's just I haven't got to play with the Liar Discover, but
Mhm.
I've watched Steven like do a little mess with it a little bit, and it's just it looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah,
Not for
it
one
was a lot
person,
of fun.
not the
A lot
other,
of fun.
but that's how them cards can be sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, next we're gonna go ahead and talk about Geist of Regret. 4 in a blue, 4/5 spirit flying. Guys, you hear that right? Flying.
Mhm.
So this card's already playable.
Yeah.
When there's a
The spirit
battlefield, put a
flies.
random instant card from your library into the graveyard, then put a random sorcery card from your library into your graveyard. Whenever you cast the instant sorcery spell from your graveyard, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's a interesting card. Seems
Mhm.
really good with Liar, but man, that mana cost is gonna be too brutal to really.
Yeah, it's too much mana. I mean, the card is really cool. The design's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's just too tough to build around because you're playing Liar instead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can't play
But
both. That's just so much. So
yeah,
much.
it's so many 5s, and you're
Yeah.
already playing Discover the Formula, so you're playing 6s too. Like the blue decks in this format are up there on the curve. So
I guess you don't have to play Discover if you don't want to with this
you
card.
don't. You don't.
It'd be
Yeah, Geist of
wild.
Regret's really interesting because it encourages cards like Scythe, like things with flashback already, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you want to put spells with flashback in your yard with this thing because then you can cast them and get copies, which is kind of sick. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, this card is cool. So I don't know. Will it ever be playable? Probably not. But it's a very cool card. I like the
Yep.
design.
I
Agreed.
mean, they can tune it enough, right? Like, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if they make this a 2-drop,
Maybe if they make it a 2-drop.
they might have to
Holy,
adjust some things for this to be a
holy
2-drop.
smokes.
Like, it at least have to be a 5/5. At
Yeah.
least.
Oh yeah. 2 mana 5/5 flying. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. That's good
That
design.
that's
Sure.
that's the design Larry would bring today. But Wizards, this is like my application.
Sheesh.
Next, we have Geist Chandler. 1 in a blue human wizard 1/3. When there's a battlefield, choose an instant or sorcery card in your hand with mana value of 3 or greater. It perpetually gains. This spell costs 2 less to cast. Cool little card.
Yeah,
Mhm.
quite good. Quite
Yeah,
good. It's seen
make it
some play.
makes your Discover cheaper.
Exactly. That's one of the things it's been doing. It's also been making unexpected windfall 2 mana.
That's pretty good too.
It's quite good.
Little
Yeah,
bit,
especially when
little
you're
bit.
copying it with the clone spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I'll
Yeah.
give you that.
Yeah.
Next, we have Kindred Denial. 2 in double blue instant. Counter target spell. Seek a card with the same mana value as that spell.
Mhm.
Another sweet card. It
Very
replaces itself.
Yep.
So you gotta love counter spells that does that. It's like Remand. But
Yeah, or honestly, if it gets to counter draw, it's literally cryptic.
that's true, and it is 4 mana. So do you find
Yeah,
that
it
acceptable?
is. If you like, so one of the I was sideboarding some of these in some of the blue decks that we built, and the dream with this, right, was to Kindred Denial discover the formula because I only played Discover as my 6-drop, so I always knew that if I
You were
countered
gonna hit it.
Discover, I was drawing Discover. So it was literally
Yep.
counter yours, get one. Or you play against these Goldspan Dragon decks. The only
Mhm.
5-drop in my deck was Liar, so I would
Yep.
like counter Goldspan Dragon and get a Liar. So it was like there's some really cool stuff with this Kindred Denial. It's a really interesting card, and I actually think it now that the nerfs and things have happened, maybe there's a control deck that can utilize this card,
Mhm.
but we'll see.
Yeah, no, it'll be very interesting to see how this card does. I like the idea of these cards. I love counter spells that replaces themselves. Because the biggest issue,
Mhm.
like you counter spells and you're actually going down cards. You are countering their spells, so it's going down. But it always felt so awkward when you're playing like a bunch of like counter spells that don't really do much to like progress what you're doing. Then this card
Right.
just says, "Hey, I'm gonna replace myself."
Right.
Mhm.
So definitely a card I could see myself messing around with. Next
Yep.
we have Obsessive Collector, 3 in a blue, 4/3 flying, Ward 2 Spirit. Another flying spirit. Wow.
Hmm.
When it deals combat damage to a player, seek a card with mana value equal to the number of cards in your hand.
We played like two of these or one of these in a very early on iteration.
A blue-white.
Yeah, blue white, and it just never felt worth it.
That's
Yeah.
fair. I had some games where it was pretty good. I think it's a
Hmm.
solid card. It's a
Hmm.
cool card again. Um, I mean, is it good? I don't know. I really don't know.
I
I could
yeah.
never tell if this card was good in that deck. It was actually pretty good for me. Every time I cast it, I was somewhat impressed, but
Okay.
it was such a weird card because it was a one of in the deck.
Yeah.
And it's felt wrong, I guess, because it was a
That,
one up. But I don't know. It always did pretty good work. So, I'm trying to think like back to
my,
those games when I was
mhm.
streaming that initial version of blue white, and like this
Yeah.
card was never the problem. The problem was that blue white's removal was kind of terrible. Um,
Right.
and that's what put me off blue white. But yeah, I think this card is like pretty reasonable.
It's fine. It's like my issue with it though is like anytime you play this kind of card, um, where it's like in the control deck where it's like not super impactful until you get to connect with it. It's
Yeah,
awkward because you're playing this creature. They've in game one, they've got a bunch of removal because the rest of the meta is playing a bunch of creatures. So they've
yeah,
got removal at the ready for this card that's just been sitting in their hand. And that was my issue, is it always just ate a removal spell
yeah.
in game one. And so then I was like, I don't even want to really cast this. I'd rather hold something else up and pass. Um, so I don't know. I always felt like I was getting punished when I cast it. So.
Maybe honestly, maybe this is like I could see this being kind of cool in a historic spirits build as your top end because you're
Mhm.
playing rattle chains and stuff. So you can like flash this in. It has ward 2, and then you can just hit them, and all you need is like 2 cards in your hand in spirits, and you're just like conjuring all the best cards in your deck into your hand. So that could be kind of interesting.
I would like to play around that concept quite a bit more than yeah, like I said, I just didn't enjoy it in the blue
Sure.
white. But yeah, I could definitely see it in being in like a top end with other creatures, and then you're getting value. You're drawing all these cards, and
Yeah.
then based with you having you have this temple style deck, you have the ability to go, I've drawn a card, I want to get a 2-drop, so I can just swing or hold cards in your hand to make sure I get the what I want. So
Yep. Yep. And just giving this card flash just makes it like obviously so much better, as pretty much
pretty big
any card
deal.
in Magic if it has flash is way better. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that would be a pretty cool concept to mess with.
Mhm.
Yep. The next card that we have on here is Oglord, Devoted Assistant, 1 in the blue, legendary creature. Was that Homunculus? 1/1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beginning of
Yep.
your upkeep, look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may put one of them into your graveyard. Whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from your library hand, it perpetually gains. When this card leaves your graveyard, create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. Now, hear me
I
out,
love the
guys.
art for this card, for the record.
Is this card, could we play this in Historic Phoenix? Maybe it's a little too greedy, but I think it'd be fun.
It
So
would
like,
certainly be fun. I'll give you that.
yeah.
Um,
So
how I kind of want to I would like to play this card with Cat Oven. Um,
oh.
Oh, that
because every time, like if you're able to get the cat, you have to obviously bin the cat from your deck or your hand. But if you're able to do that, then every time you bring the cat back, you're also getting a 2/2.
Hmm.
what's
So
that
we
two?
really want to give it a good discard outlet, right?
Yeah.
What's that 2/2? The 2-drop Deadly Dispute. Is that the name of it? Does that say discard or set
No,
discard?
no,
Or no?
you have to
Okay, I
sacrifice
didn't know if discard was
play.
like an alternative cost to
Is
it.
waste not? Not waste not.
No. We would have to play like some really weird version of Cat Oven. We'd have to play like chart a course to like pitch our cat to set this up. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone who's listening to this is probably not good. It's definitely the definition of cute,
Soul
but it would be
tie.
fun. But it would be
This
fun.
could be soul tie, so we could still play you know, the whole like card engines and stuff.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
problem with this card is it's legendary, so we can't like have multiple going at the same time with Cat, so we can't like buy Cat back and get multiple 2/2s at the same time. It's like it go
Rip
nuts.
Breaker is a pretty easy one where you can just pay 2 mana and discard and
Yeah,
then
that
get a
that would
2
actually
2.
be somewhat reasonable, and then it synergizes with Auglor's zombies, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will maybe I'll have to brew a deck together, guys, and something that we can make a video on that because that sounds like
Yeah,
a good time.
yeah, potentially that could be kind of neat.
All right, now we have Rime Wall Protector, one in the double blue giant wizard 3/4 ward 1. When Rime Wall Protector enters the battlefield, each other giant or wizard you control and each giant or wizard card in your hand perpetually gains ward 1. Yeah, this is a good uncommon right here. This is not something I am particularly excited about. I don't know what else to say about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good card. I mean it's 3-mana 3/4 with ward
Mhm.
1. And then given all other giants or wizards, ward 1 is like pretty good, I guess, if that were the kind of thing that you could do right now.
Yep.
Yep.
In Alchemy, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So, but this is a pretty. I mean, you look at this is a good card. I mean, this is a card that in most limited formats this would be ridiculous. Like I
Oh,
would
yeah,
be
it's just-
so annoyed with this freaking card.
I agree.
So it's another card that it's just like it's rarity. You just look at this, you're like, what? Like it doesn't even. It's like you said, Larry. It's kind of like they pulled from a hat from between rare, uncommon, and mythic, and then they
Mhm.
had a set number of rares and mythics that they needed to have, and they
Mhm.
just randomly pulled out of a hat. And it does feel that way. It really does with some of these cards because it's just it's like what you look at this, you're like, this is not an uncommon. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
But
There
anyway.
is a it was the first week or whatever of Alchemy. Someone was trying to make an Alchemy Is It Giants deck.
I believe it.
So
Yeah, this card would open the door for something like that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Couple more in the blue. We have Sinister Reflections, double blue instant. Conjure a duplicate of each up to 2 target non-token creatures you control into your hand. Cool card. I like that it's an instant.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yep.
it's essentially a card draw.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can get behind a card like that, and the art's cool. I like it.
Very nice art. Yeah, I've never really looked at this art before, but yeah, it's actually really well done.
And cap off the blue, we have Tireless Angler, 2 in a blue, 1/4 human rogue. Whenever an island enters the battlefield under your control, draft a card from Tireless Angler's spellbook. And I'm scrolling down. It's all the way at the bottom of my screen, thankfully.
It's a lot of fish.
A lot of fishies. We have Fleet Swallower, Moat Piranhas, Mystic Skyfish, Nadir Kraken, Pouncing Shore Shark, Sea Dasher Octopus, Spine Megalodon, Stinging Lionfish, Mauritius Great Shark. I don't even know what the hell this says. What the hell is?
Archipelago.
Yeah, what the hell? I didn't even know.
I appreciate
it's
you knew
just
exactly which
buy
one
it,
it was
folks.
too.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, Serpent of Yawning Depths, Wormhole Serpent, Sigiled Starfish, Riptide Turtle. Oh my god, I love Riptide Turtle so much.
Oh, we love some Riptide
and
Turtle.
Ruined Crab, but man, me and Steven has drafted a lot of Riptide Turtles.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 mana 0/5 Flash Defender does some work.
People be like, I got lethal, and you're like, no, you don't. Not today.
Oh.
That card's cool, and I do see the theme that Steven was mentioning with the different
Mhm.
spell books. They're gonna have their own thing.
Yeah, so like this guy, obviously, all his stuff is fish or something that you would catch in the ocean, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
because he's an angler, and it makes sense. I mean, it's good design, really. I do enjoy the spellbook mechanic actually quite a bit because I think they did a good job. They did mostly a good job. There's like one card that they probably screwed up on. We'll cover that more later, but
Mhm.
mostly this was really well done.
Yep, I agree. And I want to take a second, take a moment, and I want to reflect on the cards that we've seen so far. So out of these, we have noticed, at least I've noticed, most of these, at least the white did not have much playable at all.
No.
Like there's a couple big hits, like Inquisitor
Yep,
Captain.
one big
Obviously,
hit.
it was nerd,
Mhm.
and you also got Divine Purge, which is played not heavily, but is it played in Alchemy or more historic?
It's a little bit of both.
A little bit
It's
of
a little
both.
bit of both.
Okay.
Yep.
But and it seems like blue has a few more hits, but maybe it's about the same, honestly, because you have your big hit, obviously, with Discover.
Yep.
And the rest of just, I guess, some Geist Chandler, you're saying people were messing around with that. But
Yep.
the rest, honestly, have not been like, hey, these are.
They might not be all stars, but I'm seeing more blue cards just get played on
Yes.
like occasion though. So like, and they gave more, they gave blue more options on when they could play some of these cards, and
Right.
that's probably why.
And it's also coming to me, these spellbook cards have not been good.
Not
you're
the ones we've
gonna
seen thus
see.
far. Not the ones we've seen thus far,
Yeah.
particularly.
I'm
Faithful
just-
Disciple. Faithful Disciple's pretty good. That card's pretty good. But we're gonna get to some in the future that are
There's
really
one
good.
that matters. There's one that really
yeah.
matters.
And we'll be getting those. As we mentioned last week, these were going to be broken up because we're going to be doing our flashback interview with Daniel Wharton, the one that nobody on Spotify got to hear yet. And I want to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity. We did rephrase that. We did get to do the flashback interview with Will Kruger last week.
Oh, fantastic!
Good.
We got him live, and I'm looking forward to getting Daniel Wharton's interview out there. I know we didn't talk too much about Will Kruger's interview on the actual cast last week because we were talking about the bands. We had like a target. The bands were all fresh to all of us, so we were very emotionally invested in those.
Mhm.
But I want to talk about Daniel. He got to participate in the Players Championship along with Will Kruger. He didn't get to take it down, unfortunately, but qualifying for such an event of magnitude is an awesome feat, and we look forward to seeing what he does this year in the NRG series. But yeah, for those that are listening right now, I would definitely highly recommend sit back. Some of the things might be feeling a little outdated because there might be talks about the NRG Championship and things that obviously the NRG Championship already happened. But that's why this is a flashback episode. I'm going to try doing more flashback episodes in the future. We're eventually going to do a flashback episode with Soldic. Our nice little discussion we had all about Dredge. We'll
Nice.
definitely be bringing that back. Because I don't think that's ever been on Spotify either. It might
Okay.
be.
Oh, really?
I don't remember. I don't remember if we were doing Spotify and all that at that time.
Sure.
But just in case, there's some interviews that didn't get to just the podcast listeners and they're only available on YouTube that we'd like to get available to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to go back and hear some of these interviews. You'll get like people talking about, oh, I'm looking forward to doing Pro Tour with Wilderness Reclamation, which that's what Sodic actually was in his interview. And then now you think like, man, that feels like a million years ago. But it really wasn't. What was it, like a year?
Does feel like it.
No, it's been a couple years now for that one.
Yeah, I think that one was right when you moved in. Yeah.
Yeah. The Sodic one was like a few days before we went with Dewey to go tubing when I almost died.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was
Good time.
quite
Yeah.
a time.
Oh yeah, and then we
Oh.
couldn't find my card keys and everyone was drunk.
That was awful, dude. They were. Man, yeah, you and I, you more than me, but I was also so sunburned. That was such a bad.
Yeah, I couldn't walk for 3 days.
If I would have known, if someone could ask me, would you do this again? The answer would be absolutely not. If I knew that what was coming afterwards,
Same here.
no, it's not worth.
So you guys aren't coming to.
Well, it's not
2022.
necessarily saying I will never go tubing again, but it's
No.
saying if I knew
Yeah, the
that
after
all of
effects.
that would happen again, like all of
Yeah.
that had to happen the same way, I would absolutely not do it again. Not even close.
No, I
'Cause,
guess,
yeah, Larry went flying down the river and almost got sucked under. I feel like we lost. Didn't you lose some stuff in the river
Oh,
too, Larry?
So I lost.
Oh,
my
he lost.
hat,
He lost everything.
my glasses, my cup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
terrible.
I left to the river with many, and I left with hardly any.
Yeah, I got, you and I both got sunburned out of our minds. The keys got lost, and naturally, Larry was like, Steven, what the hell did you do with the keys? Because he knows who I am as a person. And he did give me the keys at one point, but I gave them to Duy. And I was pretty sure I had given them to Duy, but I was
You
starting
gave
to
them
not
to
believe it
Kyle,
anymore.
and then
Oh, yeah. And then Duy gave them to Kyle. Oh, that's right. I gave them to Kyle, and I assumed that Kyle would give them to Duy. And that never happened. And then, Kyle didn't know where he was after we got back. And it was just. Yeah, anyway, I would not do that again. If I knew that everything would happen
All the bad
the same way
circumstances.
again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
I totally get
that's not
that.
how life works. You don't know all given, all scenarios that are going to come from any given event. So would I go tubing again? Yeah, probably. I'll hopefully remember sunscreen next time.
So like I'm always going off on a tangent, obviously, but like I'm always a bit of a dad on these trips. Like organize here, be here at this. We have this food, we have these drinks. And at the beginning, I'm always like, "Hey, everybody, we're about to get off. Have you applied your sunscreen? You know, as we're tying up, it's a great time to apply the sunscreen." And then about an hour into the trip is the next like time you can do it, which is when we get to that island. But the problem is, then you got another like 3 to 4 hours on the water,
yeah.
and your sunscreen's gonna wear off no matter how much you put on, really, because you're in the water the whole time, and you're drunk, so you don't care anymore.
Yeah, well, it was also it wasn't. I did put sunscreen on.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anybody who's listening, we did. I applied some amount of sunscreen, but I didn't apply it well. I didn't like put it on my legs for whatever reason, like my lower legs. And they just got completely cooked.
I remember this. You didn't put it on the area where your socks were, and then you took your socks off it after you put the sunscreen on. So I
God.
remember your legs. Like you weren't too bad, except the spots that didn't have it from the socks, and it was like a sock pattern of burnt.
Oh, dude, my feet, bro, and like the area where the tongue of my shoe, like lifted up, it got like under there and just completely cooked the roof of my foot.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude, just so painful, so bad.
Well, it was so funny that whole day I was going around the people, and I was like, only bitches wear sunscreen, right?
Yeah,
And that was the day I found the doctor, when I had to go to the doctor and stuff. They were like, yeah, we think you're allergic to the sun. So I wore sunscreen since.
Sun said, "Let me show you."
We'll show you who bitches.
Yeah.
This was like, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago. We went to the beach, and it was a very, very cloudy day. And for the more wiser individuals out there that are aware that you should still wear sunscreen on a very cloudy day because you still can get the UV rays, I was told by my friend, you don't need it.
Oh, of course
it's cool. It's
course
cloudy. It's cloudy. You're good to go. I'm like, all right, I trust you. I was so burnt that day that I had Duy jerky coming off of me the next day. Okay, like you could just peel, and I guess like a strip. But they're like, "What's wrong?" I'm like,
I don't think this is normal. Yeah, mine is so bad now. I wear sunscreen like during this time of year.
Well, you should. It reflects off the snow.
Yeah, my skin gets fucked up. Like I'll get like burned in the winter. It's so bad.
And like my face lotion, like it just inherently has SPF in it because you should just have SPF in your facial lotion so it protects your face. So.
Yep. But long
I just don't go outside. That's my solution. I just stay inside all day. So.
Yeah, I'm just gonna burn you with a lighter. Like if you can't get burned outside, I'll burn you on the inside, I suppose.
I had to buy a sun lamp because I was getting a vitamin D deficiency because of how much I was staying inside because of working from home.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's
like
not hard.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I burn so bad is I just like never go outside. I have almost never gone outside. Like it's just not something I do very much of. And so it's just
I do it in spurts, but now every morning I wake up around 8 o'clock, I turn it on, I leave it on for quite a few hours.
Makes sense.
But yeah, before I close this recording, I want to say good luck to you, Duy, in Snowmageddon, part 75 this year. I know you guys are supposed to get hit pretty well tomorrow. For those that aren't aware, we're recording here on Tuesday, February 1st, and
Yep.
we here in Michigan are getting hit with a snowstorm along with the upper part of Indiana.
Yeah.
Us in Grand Rapids aren't supposed to get it too bad. I believe it was like 3 to 6 inches projected, but Dewey's lucky enough to be on the side of the state where they're supposed to get hit with, what was it, like 10 to 15? Is that what your range was?
Yeah, they're ballparking 2 feet.
Yep.
And so as you know, I was like, I'm gonna go prepare. Okay. Now I don't have a snowblower because I don't really need it because I don't really leave. Like
Sure.
Nina was complaining to me about this. She's like, you don't shovel your driveway. I'm like, I don't have to. I have 4-wheel drive. So why? and so I don't need it. So I only have to like shovel a very small area. So I went and bought salt. So I was
Okay.
like, I want to make sure this area is salted. So then, eventually walking back and forth. And I was like, I'm gonna big brain this. Okay, it's gonna snow after the podcast. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna salt all this area. Salt a little bit of the driveway, salt my walkway. Snow's gonna come down. I've got salt that's gonna work to negative 20 degrees. Okay, it's gonna keep melting it. Wake up the next morning, apply another layer. I won't have to shovel. I'm a genius, right? It's gonna rain a ton before it starts snowing
Yep,
in
it's
a
been raining
great
here.
mix. Yeah, in a great mix of like rain and ice.
Does that
So
mess up the salt?
it's gonna move the salt because it's gonna rain so much.
Ah,
If it wasn't a ton of rain, it wouldn't really matter because it'll just come down. It'll dilute it. It'll like melt it away a little bit. But it's the fact of how much is gonna come down. I'm like, I don't think it's worth it anymore.
I will say, have you lifted up your windshield wipers?
No,
You should do that.
I'm not going. Oh, I am going somewhere tomorrow. Dang it.
It would be so much easier for you tomorrow. Like, future Dewey would all respect past Dewey a lot more if you do that.
Oh, like I start my car like 15 minutes before I have to leave, so it's like nice and
Well,
warm and everything's
it
melted.
it extends the lifetime on your own wipers too.
Don't you just replace them every 6 months anyway?
I don't. I replace mine every 2 years.
Costco has a great sale on them
Oh,
every 6 months
you
or
don't
so.
want to see me, like I.
It's like 20
No, no,
bucks.
no, no. I could take a water pump out of a car, right? I could do
Yeah.
all that. You should see me when I'm trying to like replace windshield wipers. I open that box like it's a foreign language, and I'm like, what? Like I've literally taken the whole to take a water pump out. You have to take the radiator out. You gotta take all
Mm-hmm.
this out, and I've done that. No problem. Day job. I tried to put windshield wipers together. I bought some at Costco. I got so frustrated trying to figure these things out that I threw them in the garbage and I went to Valvoline and I was like, I would like some wipers, please.
So I do obviously every 6 months I get a new set, and um I will say though, the last set I bought, I was like, I'm gonna spend a little bit more money than the standard set they've got. This was like $3 more. It looks real good. I'm gonna go with this. Like so they have like the compartments, the flaps. The easier ones, just like you slide it in, has something that clips it in.
Yep.
This one has like the flip, untoggle it, plug it in, clip it, and and I couldn't get it to snap shut. But the other side of it is metal, so I have to like pincer it down while I'm closing it. And I like sliced my thumb open, and all I could think about is, why am I doing this myself? I could pay someone else to do this.
Exactly. Like we're putting ourselves at risk. But yeah, I did look something up, guys, before we
What's
close
up?
this out. It's not just Michigan. I guess it's like 2,000 miles of snow and ice.
oh
Oh
wow.
yeah, it's a pretty big snowstorm that's
Yeah,
hitting.
'cause
We
and,
like for
and we're
work we
getting
rerouted everything.
we're getting kind of the lowest of it too.
Hmm.
It's like way worse down here in what is that? Kentucky and bottom of Ohio and Indiana. Oh,
Wow.
and it looks like is that Missouri? Yeah, that's Missouri. They're getting hit pretty hard.
The worst part about it for them,
Yup.
obviously with all this, is that we're equipped to handle it, right? Like our people up here, we deal with it all the time. So getting like 2 feet of snow is whatever. It's a crappy day. Our plows are gonna run. They're gonna salt. They're gonna push all this stuff away, and it's gonna be fine. Down south, they don't have plows at the ready like that. Like
Yup.
they're not gonna be able to work around the clock. The whole city area is just gonna shut down. For us, it'd be like, man, I have to go out the snow. Do I have to go out the snow? It's for them, it's I'm not going out in the snow.
Yeah.
Yep. And for anybody that's getting snow, you can always go up to howmuchwillitsnow.com, and it'll actually tell you what you're projected. Like right now, it's showing in Grand Rapids we're supposed to get 4.5.
4.5. All right.
But if we go,
Really?
where did I say I was going? Twin Oaks,
Three Oaks?
Three Oaks. I don't know names of cities anymore. Like this website, this is a very good thing that the listeners should like really utilize if you're trying to know what if you're going to be going out into the like danger of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like Three Oaks, they're supposed to get 12.5. I don't feel like I'm
Well-
going to end up going to that. I don't think my bosses are going to talk me out of it. I know they are. But yeah, Springfield, Illinois, 15 inches.
Yeah, I've got. I'm looking at the weather gov. That's my preferred area for the national forecast. Tomorrow, I've got during the day it's 5 inches. During the evening, another 3 to 5 inches. Thursday, another 3 to 5 inches during the afternoon, and then more at night. Yeah, I'm just getting snow until Thursday night. It looks like so.
Yep, Thursday is afternoon is the projected. I've been seeing for a lot of places. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously that can be go sooner, go later. It all varies. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was fun talking about Alchemy. Well, next week we're going to be jumping right back in to go. We're going to start with some of the black cards, finish those up. We also still got some like the rebalancing. We're also going to talk about
Yeah.
cards that was nerfed from standard for Alchemy
Mhm.
specifically. So that'll be super fun. But everyone stay tuned. We're going to be jumping over to an interview with Daniel Wharton.
Very nice.
We will catch you
Awesome.
later.